The City of Neenah is pleased to provide video recordings of City Council meetings. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents from the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or completing the electronic feedback form on the city website. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the City of Neenah Common Council meeting for April 3rd, 2024. Thank you for joining us this evening. The first item on the agenda is the roll call. The clerk will call the roll. Please indicate your presence on your roll call device.
Alderperson Boyette.
Here.
Alderperson Erickson is excused. Alderperson Hillstrom.
Here.
Lundrum.
Here.
Alderperson Steiner is excused. Alderperson Stevenson.
Here.
Alderperson Skirms.
Here.
Alderperson Weber.
Here.
And Council President Borchard is excused.
Thank you. Alderman Todd Stevenson and Alderman John Skirms will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is spring break for Neenah Joint School District schools, so that explains a lot of why our numbers are a little bit lower today. The first item on the agenda is introduction and confirmation of mayor's appointments. The appointment of Amy Moorfield as a member of the Landmarks Commission for a 3-year term ending April 2027, and the appointment of Flo Bruno as an alternate member of the Landmarks Commission for a 3-year term ending April 2027. Is there any objection to unanimous consent of those appointments? Seeing no objection, those appointments are approved, and I believe Flo Bruno is here tonight, and the clerk will swear her in as an alternate member of the Landmarks Commission.
I, Flo Bruno, having been appointed to the Landmark Commission of the City of Neenah, Winnebago County, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duty of member of Landmark Commission to the best of my ability. So help me God. Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody, thank you to the city, thank you to the Landmark Commission who helped me a lot during the last year to get my house nomination, historical nomination, so thank you. I worked hard with everybody, it was a team effort, so I am very proud and very honored to be part of your team for the next 3 years.
Thank you. We truly appreciate your service, Flo, and Landmarks will be very honored and privileged to have you join, so thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the council proceedings and minutes from March 20th, 2024. Is there any objection to unanimous consent of the approval of those minutes? Seeing no objection, those minutes and proceedings are approved. The next item on the agenda is the public forum. This is the opportunity for anyone from the public who would like to speak to the council on any topic. The limit is 5 minutes to speak. If you would like to speak, raise your hand. We'll just take people in order of whoever would like to speak, but when you come to the microphone, please give your name and residential address. Is there anyone who would like to speak during the public forum? I think I'll call on former Mayor Coffert first.
Well, thank you, Mayor Lang and Honorable Mayor Lang and the distinguished council members, many of my former colleagues, and the outstanding department heads that we have here in the city of Neenah. It's kind of good to be back here for a minute. I did hear her say 5 minutes, and I think most of you who know me and served me, I did not print anything tonight, so I think we'll be okay, Todd. Todd won't have to give me the cutoff.
I'm a little nervous.
But I did write some notes, and I really wanted to be here tonight because, you know, I've been in government a long time, but tonight I think is really, really special for a certain individual and this community, and we're losing a great asset to the community, and I wanted to just say a few words. I want to congratulate the new aldermen who are coming on board. I want to thank each and every one of you for what you do day in, day out for this community. I want to say, John Skirms, thank you very much for your time and energy. You were just so steady in the years that I worked with you. It was a pleasure. You were dedicated. Your commitment to this community, coming from Wapaka, I think you gave up the lake life there to come, lake life in Wapaka to come to Neenah. And you were truly made a difference in this community. So thank you for your years here in service. It was a pleasure serving with you, and we together did some great things. So thank you very much for your service. But the guy, in addition, the guy I wanted to talk about, just for a couple minutes, is Todd Stevenson, my good friend for a lot of years. We went to high school together, served together on the council. The very first guy that when I said I was going to, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I was an alderman and said I was going to run for the state assembly. And the very first person that I talked to and asked if they'd be on my team was Todd Stevenson. He said yes. And that gave me a little sigh of relief that, and it felt good. So we've went back a long ways. This guy has given 35 years to this community, and you're all, you know, give your time and your energy, and I know how involved you all are and how much time you spend. And, you know, over the years, we all know people who just, they open their packets, you know, the night they get here, but you all, it's just a different atmosphere here in Neenah. We've been good about keeping the politics out of city council, whereas it's creeping into school board races and other races. So I think we're truly unique here in this community. And part of it's because of people like Todd. Because if you've ever been on the wrong side of any of those discussions when he's not happy with something, you'd understand. He makes his point. He's thorough. He makes a lot of sense. He loves this community, and he has been truly dedicated. And not just him, his wife, Nancy, Amber, Ashley, you all folks know how much your family at times when there's tough votes out there, when you go to a restaurant, you can get harassed, things like that. But the time and commitment that you all make, they make that as the family of someone who's given 35 years to this community. So I've witnessed his commitment, his dedication, his constituent services. When people call with a question, when they call, they're not happy about something, Todd's kind of like me. He'd get in his car and he'd go meet with them. So this community, Todd, owes you a great amount of admiration and thank you. You've been doing this a long time. You've made a difference. We're going to miss your thoughtfulness on this council. I hope you enjoy your time. I can attest that retirement is great. And I just want to say thank you to my good colleague, but more importantly, my good friend Todd Stevenson, and say thank you for what you've done for this community. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you, Mayor Coffert. At the end of tonight's meeting, we will be formally recognizing our two aldermen who are retiring from commitment here on the council, and we will have cake as well. So just so you know, you're welcome to stay to the very end of the meeting if you'd like to have cake.
I just say, Mayor, when you're retired, you can't stay out that late. My first budget, I kept you guys here till 1 a.m. So I don't know how long.
I remember that. I was here.
I won't get cake tonight.
I know there were a lot of hands raised to come forward to speak during the public forum, so I think we'll start over on this side. Whoever had their hand raised before, come on forward, give your name and residential address.
My name is Tanya Waters at 934 Baldwin Street. I'm here this evening to address the concerns and impact of the proposed sidewalk installation project on Baldwin Street. So there's numerous reasons. One, my family is affected as the new sidewalk will split my driveway in half, leaving us nowhere to park in a driveway that we paid $10,000 to widen per city guidelines. We applied for the permit, it was approved, we did what we had to do, and now that's being taken away from us. Not only that, it is a financial impact. It will raise our property taxes and increase our home insurance. I recently lost my job. I can't afford to give the city any more money, along with my elderly neighbors. They're going to be taxed out of their homes. I already mentioned the parking restrictions. The one time my son parked on the street, his car was totaled. Every time our cars are parked on the street, they're vandalized. Again, increased cost. You're not allowed to park on the street in the winter. Where are we supposed to park our cars? We're being told that is possibly going to be proposed 365-day parking. Again, our vehicles being vandalized, parked on the street, or hence, like my son, vehicle totaled, causing him to now have to purchase a brand new vehicle. I already addressed the elderly. They already have an issue in our neighborhood maintaining their driveways. Now we're gonna add a sidewalk that they will either have to pay someone else to maintain, or it's not gonna get done, resulting in tickets. Again, these are elderly, they're on fixed incomes. How do we expect them to afford this? We can't. The proposed sidewalk, we already have a speeding problem on Baldwin Street. You put in a sidewalk, what do they have to slow down for? Nothing. They're gonna go even faster. We call the police, we're told that they're going to patrol our street. We've seen them one time. They didn't pull anybody over. So now let's put in a sidewalk that is going to allow them to speed even faster, potentially killing a child. We no longer have a school, so the point values go down. We have an underutilized park. There is no need for a sidewalk on Baldwin Street. If you guys need to put a sidewalk in, it should go on the park side. There are 9 homes on that street with long enough driveways, sufficient. They're not gonna lose their parking. They're not gonna have to put their vehicles on the street. We're asking the city to please rethink what they are doing to our street, what they're doing to our homes. As members that work for us, We need you to hear us, to actually take what we are saying into consideration and the effects you guys are having on us. We have also petitioned on our street. We have the majority of the votes. We don't want this. We don't need this. So I'd like to present our petition to the city.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there the next person who would like to speak?
Hello, my name is Teresa Martin. I am also at 922 Baldwin Street. I come before you not just as a homeowner, but also as a concerned member of our neighborhood community. The installation of a sidewalk is one that directly impacts every resident on Baldwin Street, as well as those who have driveways on Baldwin Street. While the idea of improving the neighborhood infrastructure might seem appealing at first glance, it is imperative that careful considerations given to the ramifications. From a financial perspective, as homeowners, we'll be tasked with shouldering the responsibility of maintaining the sidewalk. From shoveling snow in the winter to dealing with ice buildup, the ongoing costs can quickly add up. And let's not forget about the increase in property taxes and the potential increase of homeowners' insurance premiums that could result from this added liability. But it's not just about money. The installation of a sidewalk would also bring about impractical changes. For example, the issue of parking. For those with longer vehicles and shorter driveways, the proposed sidewalk placement could significantly impact our ability to park in our own driveways. Not to mention the potential need to reconfigure landscaping to accommodate this new addition. Me personally would need to find another solution for the tree ring retaining wall around my large tree in the front yard, or hire someone to trim the branches as they will interfere with the sidewalk as it overhangs. There's also the matter of ADA compliance. For myself, given the slope of my driveway and yard, it's highly unlikely that a sidewalk adjacent to them would meet necessary regulations. I just paid $9,000 to have my driveway improved and slightly widened per the city ordinances in concrete. To have it redone would not meet ADA compliance. The sidewalk would be at a slant, which would cause logistical headaches as well as impair those with mobility issues. Another concern is privacy. The installation of a sidewalk could lead to notable increase in foot traffic through our neighborhood. This not only compromises the peacefulness of our surroundings, but it has the potential to elevate the risk of vandalism and other crimes. While we have experienced minor issues in the past with vehicles parked on the street, the proximity of a sidewalk to our homes and vehicles parked in our driveways heightens these risks. Regarding the decision-making process for the need for a sidewalk, I found, according to the 2023 and 2027 5-year capital improvement plan submitted by Mayor Lang, a criteria score of 468 was derived. I was told the factors to help determine this score included proximity to schools, parks, employment centers, school bus stops, handicapped or elderly care facility, shopping and restaurants, adjacent development, transit routes, and school walking routes. Considering the impending closure of Hoover Elementary School, the underutilization of Baldwin City Park, and none of the other items on that list, I do not understand what would cause such a high point value to be ascertained. If a sidewalk is indeed needed, why is there a need for a sidewalk on both sides of the street? Could a single-sided installation on the same side of the street as Baldwin Park suffice, thereby reducing the impact to majority of the homeowners on Baldwin Street? I respectfully ask each of you to carefully reconsider the implications of installing a sidewalk in our neighborhood. While the idea may seem well-intentioned, the reality it poses far more problems and hardships than benefits for the homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kind of short. Susan Kruger, I'm at 926 Baldwin Street. I would just ask some questions of whomever has made the decision to put sidewalks on our street. We have lived there 20-plus years. I have 2 daughters that went through Hoover School, went through the high school, went through all their schooling in Neenah. Never was it brought up for sidewalks. We taught our children how to walk on the street when they did, against traffic, whatever they had to do. We taught them this. This was our job. We taught them to keep them safe. There's no school. There's Hoover School's closing. What do we need sidewalks on our street for? We don't have the implications of, with parking, we have a garage, so we don't have those kind of implications for our house per se, but it's not necessary. And again, the elderly on our street do not need the extra. We don't need the extra cost for a sidewalk. We don't need people closer to our house. It's bad enough when people are walking on our street. We don't know these people. There's a lot of people that we don't know that are walking on our street. This simply, myself, could be solved with a couple speed bumps. Traffic is going so fast, and yes, they do. When they go from Cecil Street to Winneconne, there is fast traffic. Speed bumps. What is wrong with speed bumps? It's some concrete added to the street. I don't know. I've never done that, so I don't know. But it seems the quicker route to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Diana Hintz, and I've lived at 866 Baldwin Street for 21 years. Last week was when we heard there was a plan to put sidewalks down both sides of the street as early as this June. I would like the city to consider saving at least half the cost by installing the sidewalk on only the west side of the street, which contains the park. Most pedestrians are either going to the park or the businesses just past the park. The east side of the street currently has children who walk home from Hoover, but that school is closing permanently. Also, there are only crosswalks on the ends of Baldwin, and if there was a sidewalk on the east side, anyone using the sidewalk would be more likely to cross somewhere in the middle of the street, which is not safe as our street has a very significant speeding problem, as you've heard like a lot of times already. Unlike the west side of the street, which is mostly park area, the east side of the street is all modest homes that were built around 60 years ago and have never had sidewalks. Unfortunately, putting sidewalks down now would likely result in the loss of several trees and many driveway parking spots. On my property, there's a large tree in the front that is in great condition, and on calling the Public Works office, they agreed that the tree is very close to where the sidewalk would go in. So this means that either the tree will be removed from my front yard or they will be cutting through the shallow root system to install the sidewalk. Our parking situation would not be quite as dire as some, but it would become a lot less convenient since we would need to move vehicles around in order to access our garage. It's a 2-car garage, but it's not big enough for 2 cars, so we do have to park one outside. We also have a small camper, so we would have a little more difficulty using that because we would have to cross over the sidewalk to hitch and unhitch it. So like many residents on our street, we're limited in our options to expand parking, both financially and due to a lack of space. I did find out at one point, I looked at expanding our garage and we could only move over 1 foot based on the rules for the amount of room you have to have on this between your house and your lot lines. So I just want to say again that I agree with having a sidewalk on the west side of the street, and I think it would be great. It's a nice, safe option for pedestrians with minimal, if any, disruption to the current residents on that side. And I would hope the city would consider saving the expense and the neighborhood trees, I like trees, and the need for parking for residents by eliminating plans to install the sidewalk on the east side. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mackenzie Hantz at 914 Baldwin, and this would affect my driveway because my driveway is more width than it is length, so if it cuts into my driveway, we won't be able to fit barely 2 of our vehicles, and we have 3 of them. And also, I agree with the sidewalk being on the opposite side because there are far less houses on that side, and majority of their driveways are in length and not width, so all of their vehicles won't be affected by that, especially considering all the ones I can see from my house are all parked in the driveway or in the garage, and all of ours on our side are almost all in the driveway and not the garage. My driveway, like I said, is width-wise, and my one-car garage only fits one of our smaller vehicles. Our truck is at the the edge of our driveway as far as it can be in, and it does not fit in our garage. And along with the speed bumps, I agree with speed bumps because I think the speeding the speeding in general is not gonna be affected by sidewalks. Like, no one's gonna look at a sidewalk and think, okay, I need to slow down. I think that's gonna be a reason to go faster because all their kids are they're going to be going faster because they're going to think all the kids are further away. But if someone runs out in the street, like I have 3 kids myself, if a ball rolls out there or a skateboard rolls out of my driveway because it goes a little bit at a slant, they're young. They don't potentially look at that, so I think that might be in effect as well. Trying to think what else there is. Along with the Hoover School is closing. And along with Spring Road, my son goes to Spring Road Elementary School. They have no sidewalk on any of their roads over there, and they're all walking in the street. So I think it would be more sense to put a sidewalk in a school that's active. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, council members. My name is Chris Martin. I'm a resident at 922 Baldwin Street. I've lived there for over 22 years. I just have a few questions in regards to the city, the ordinance that's section 1457 for sidewalk and trail installation. Contained within this ordinance, I believe it's item number 4, section C. It specifically calls out when combined vehicle and pedestrian counts warrant sidewalk installation. I want to know what the city has done to be able to take a survey of a count of what that pedestrian traffic is. I'm aware that there had been the little monitoring strip that was placed at the end of Baldwin Street to be able to calculate what the traffic was for vehicular traffic. But I want to see where the results for the survey were conducted to be able to measure what the actual pedestrian foot count was to be able to show justification in the sidewalk. Like I said, I've lived at this residence for over 22 years. I can tell you in my time and sitting at home, sitting in that living room, I worked for AT&T for 17 years, so I had various days where my days off would vary from either having a Monday off, a Tuesday off, a Wednesday off, a Thursday off, a Friday off, or a full weekend off. And I can tell you, in sitting in my living room, I do not see that foot traffic would be warranted. Well, I guess a better question would be, what does the city deem as adequate foot traffic to be able to support a sidewalk? Is it 50 pedestrians a day? Is it 100 pedestrians a day? Is it 250 pedestrians a day? Regardless if you say it's any of those numbers, I can tell you that pedestrian foot traffic does not exist on Baldwin. There has not been a day other than, well, let me rephrase that. I take that back. There is a day that pedestrian traffic exceeds 50 pedestrians in a day. It's called Halloween. That's the only day that it happens. We haven't had a sidewalk there since that house was constructed, which I believe dates back to the late 60s. I don't believe that there's ever been any documented instance of a pedestrian being hit by traffic of a car on that street. Adding a sidewalk, I believe, is frivolous spending on the city's account for an unneeded, unwanted sidewalk. I think it would be better use of those funds to be allocated to either monitoring and reducing the speed on that street. Not to mention, you've already got Radine Street, which is right behind Baldwin Street, that already has sidewalks that run directly to that school that's closing. So that adjoining street that has already passable from Winneconne to Cecil, it's already there. I just don't see what the justification in the sidewalk is. And as you've heard from fellow members of this street, the amount of infringement on their private property with their driveways that have been laid. As my wife had just said earlier, we just spent $9,000 putting in a driveway to be able to accommodate parking our camper in the driveway in between our camping trips. Well, as it states now, if I park that camper in my driveway and you put that sidewalk in, I'm potentially going to be fined on a daily basis just for accessing and using my own personal driveway. Is the city going to create any type of documentation to grandfather me in that's to say that I'm not going to be fined? Does the city even care? You know, I just feel that this is being superimposed on us as residents unjustly without consideration of the residents. And that's why I'm here speaking my piece tonight. I urge you to reconsider this. I feel that it is a waste of taxpayer dollars, and it's not justified. I really firmly believe that. And I appreciate your time. I thank you for your service, and thank you for hearing me out. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else over in this section? Okay, then we'll move to this middle section.
My name is Raymond Yankee. I used to live on Baldwin Street. I live at 203 Joseph Court Apartment 2, but I used to live on Baldwin Street. And Baldwin Street used to be a good street and quiet street. And the problem is, it is a speed trap. And in a way, there's some ways that they should do some with speed bumps, but it's not easy to put speed bumps there either, because there's certain elements that where you're going to put them and how you're going to put them on. You might have to put maybe three speed bumps compared to 2, and that's maybe my possession of how you may have to put speed bumps on that road. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in this section who would like to speak?
Right next to where they're going to do this, where they want to put a house on 60 feet wide.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you pull the microphone down to you? Thank you.
I should know better.
And then could you please state your name and address? I'm sorry.
Anyway, I don't know how they can possibly put a house on that property. And there's no way they can build a decent house, and it's going to make the
You got to tell them your name and where your address is.
Okay. My name is Joan Doucette, and I'm at 819 Edward. Anyway, I don't know how they possibly can put a house on that property.
Which note are you? She's on point, is it 13?
What?
But tell them what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Which motion?
It's fine. We actually know. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you, though.
Anyway, the 60 feet, and then on each side, you got to have a variance for both the people on each side, and I don't know what that is, but I heard 9 feet on each side. And the lot is only 48 feet in the front, and it sure is going to make a small place, and they can't even put a garage next to it. They'd have to put it behind. I don't know how this possibly can go through. And they tried once before to put stuff through there, and it didn't go through. I don't know who's doing this, but it shouldn't be, and I don't want it. And there's several of us that don't want it. Several people are on spring vacation, so they couldn't come tonight. So this was a lousy time to have this. But I want to make sure that they look at that and what it's going to do to the rest of the houses on that street, because it's not right. It shouldn't go through. And I know they got a call from some of the people before they left, but some of the people are not here. So I want you to look at it and and it shouldn't go through.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in this middle section?
I'm Jane Mastrangelo. I live at 810 Edward Street. I lived there for like 40-some years. We don't need another house on that street. We got enough problems with the people that live there now. So I don't know what kind of house they would be building there, but I'm against it. And like Joni said, half of the people are on spring break, so I don't know. I'm just against it. I live like almost right across where the new house would be. And we have problems with parking now with other people's cars and stuff, like in winter. And then when the plow comes through the trash barrels, they can't even get at it. Now, if we add another house to it, I don't know. I don't think there should be another house put there.
Thank you. Anyone else in this section?
Probably a good time for me to.
Okay.
Dwayne Murphy, 806 Main Street. I'm the owner of the property that was just being referred to by my neighbors. First and foremost, my apologies for being out of state on the last council meeting. I was unable to attend that. I understand this came up then, and it's now coming up again. It is our intent to take that existing property and to divide it in two, to build a single-family affordable workforce housing on the back half of that. This fits within Neenah's vision in the 2040 comprehensive plan, of which I'm not going to read or the highlighted sections of it. I think we've all seen it on how affordable housing is one of the biggest needs in the Fox Valley and also in Neenah. Within a block of this specific property, there are 18 existing properties right now that are underneath the 60-foot ordinance. Of those 18 properties, the one actually right next door is 4.53 feet smaller even than this one. So I'm asking for approval of this variance to help fulfill one of Neenah's greatest needs, which is workforce housing. It's going to be a single-family home. It's not going to be a monstrosity that doesn't fit the existing neighborhood. It's not large enough to, but there's a great need to have smaller homes that can fit people who work in our communities that can't find and or afford homes in our neighborhood. We've always come in, we've made the neighborhoods better in any place that we do this. We have several of these going, and it fulfills a need for the neighborhoods and for the communities. And we always leave the properties, the neighborhoods, and the homes that we touch better than how we have found them, which is good for, in my opinion, it's good for everyone. So I appreciate your time, and man, I wouldn't want any of your jobs. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the middle section who would like to speak during the public forum? Seeing no one, we'll move over to the section on my right.
Jim Spranger, 129 Plummer Court. I'm here to speak in favor of the addition of sidewalks on Plummer Court from the south end of the court to Green Bay Road. We chose to live where we do because there are sidewalks there. At the time when we moved in, we had young children, and it was very advantageous for them to be able to ride their bikes and walk without having to go out into the street. That portion of Plummer Court is kind of a throughway from Green Bay Road to Western and beyond, and so the traffic can be heavy at times. And like they spoke on Baldwin, it can be a little bit excessive in speed, so I think having a sidewalk provides greater safety for pedestrians, both children and adults, which there are plenty of on that street. And we do certainly understand the impact that it can have on properties that already exist that don't have sidewalks, but we believe that it's beneficial in the long-term interests of the city. So we're in favor of the sidewalk additions on Plummer Court. And thank you, Alderman Stevenson, for all your years of service.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in this section who would like to speak during the public forum? Seeing no one, I will close the public forum portion of tonight's meeting. Is there anyone on council who would like to address any of the issues that were brought up during the public forum? Alderman Lundrum.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm specifically, I guess, aiming for the people on Baldwin Street. I want to keep our line of communication open. It's already started. I know that Ms. Tanya has my contact information. We've been chatting back and forth. Please ask. I'll give you my phone number, my card, whatever you need. I'll be emailing you to Teresa. So for the concerns that you all have mentioned, we are listening. The police are here tonight, and our traffic engineer is here tonight, and they were both listening very closely to all of you, everything you said. So you were absolutely heard tonight. So I want to keep talking to you about your concerns. Like I said, you'll probably hate me tonight, but in July, I think you're going to like us again, because I think you're going to appreciate it. I know it's really hard to believe that, but anyway, just keep talking to me, okay, about each concern that comes up. We've already talked about a couple of them tonight, okay? Thank you.
Is there anyone else on the council who would like to speak during consideration of public forum? Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question for Director Kaiser. The majority of the statements that were made this evening were regarding the shortening of their driveways, where I'm guessing, in my vision, that means that their vehicles would be in their driveways straddling over the sidewalk that is going to be put in, which is frowned upon. I'm not sure if it's punishable by a citation or the law, but in any case, I guess I'm just kind of concerned because it's more than one individual, and have we thought about what was presented as far as the other side of the road for the sidewalks, and if so, what are those answers?
All right, I'll start out with the driveway length. Properties out here have typically 25-foot setback from the property line to the house. So that, and Chris can probably elaborate on what that means as far as what can happen in that area. Part of what we heard is, and I want to be delicate here because it's an issue that we deal with on projects every year, and that is a complete understanding of where the property line is and what can be done within the property, and what the city's rights are in the right-of-way, which is outside the property. So certainly, parking in that area between that property line and the house in that setback area, whatever they can achieve there. But there shouldn't necessarily be an assumption that parking outside of that area in the right-of-way is going to work in the long term. So that's one of the issues that we're running into. I'm sorry, the other part of your question?
Sorry, about the idea that was presented by several members this evening to put the sidewalks on the opposite side of the street where the park is, to eliminate the bulk of.
Sure, as budgeted and as included in contract 724, sidewalk would be placed on both sides of the street. That was mentioned. When we look at the placement of sidewalk, the benefits, the true benefits that accrue to having a sidewalk available, it loses when it is only placed on one side of the street, because now we create that attraction to cross the street, the mid-block crossings, to get to the point where the sidewalk is across from them. Mid-block crossings, obviously, are discouraged, and as you heard from a number of people with concerns about traffic and speeding on that street, that isn't something that we should be trying to increase. So for that reason, sidewalk is recommended on both sides of the street.
Thank you.
Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Jerry, question on that too, on the people that had just put sidewalks in that recently. Don't sidewalks, I mean, you have to get a permit to put a sidewalk in. Don't the builders have to put it in case there's a sidewalk going in? So the slant is proper?
Yeah, any contractor doing driveway work is supposed to place essentially the sidewalk section through the driveway that they're working on. This can either be done just with the grading, with jointing, with even as a separate pour, which most probably would rather not do. But yeah, we want those driveways set up so that if sidewalk were to go into a street, it's just a connect the dots kind of setup. We're just connecting one driveway to the next, knowing that the cross slope through the driveway is okay. Not all contractors necessarily follow that, unfortunately. So we do run into cases, as we did last year with at least one, where we had to make some adjustments to the driveway in order for the sidewalk to go in and be compliant.
Okay, one other thing. A couple people mentioned taxes going up. I don't know, Director Hayes. I mean, there is no cost to sidewalks going in because it's part of the turf fee. So there's no charge for the sidewalks. But as far as raising their assessments because there's a sidewalk in front of their house, I mean, is that something
No.
that really happens? No?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak from council? Alderman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess my biggest concern with the issue that it's being addressed tonight is our process and the timing of notification to affected property owners. Back prior to TARF, we used to have to send out notifications of assessment because we would actually assess you people for sidewalks. When we eliminated, and so that assessment process required notification because we were going to ask you to pay for it, and the project scope was proactively communicated way in advance. But with the creation of TARF and the fact that these there are no longer assessments, we aren't required legally. Correct me, or Jerry or Attorney Rashid, correct me where I'm wrong. But we're not required to notify because we're not intending to assess. So the only way these affected property owners, in the last couple of years, evidently we haven't had a lot of controversy where in areas where we're doing road work that utilizes TARF to pay for it. So I think we need to reevaluate our process and our notification procedures for capital projects that I will say that have historically caused people to object. In sidewalks, if after 34 years I have one issue that I am looking forward to not having to deal with, it's sidewalks. Because no one wants them, and no one. See, I thought we got rid of it when we said we'd pay for it, but that wasn't the case. we'll pay for the sidewalk, and they still don't want them. They don't want to shovel them. And quite honestly, some of the comments that I heard tonight about the badness of having a sidewalk, there are a lot of residents in the city of Neenah who have sidewalks who do that. I mean, they shovel them, and because that's what good neighbors and communities do to help each other out. Now, a legitimate question. So, I don't want to go on and on here, but I think we need to evaluate our process more from a notification perspective, and at the same time, I think one of the questions that was asked tonight, I think Mr. Martin at 922 asked about the questions of what was our justification, what were the pedestrian counts, what were the criteria that we used to determine when we put sidewalks in, and what are those numbers, and do they meet the standards? So that's enough.
I share your concerns, Alderman Stevenson, on the process, and definitely want to change that notification process. Even with the TARF in place, it's important to be notifying the neighbors.
Yeah, and Jane and I talked about that.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on council relative to any of the issues that were brought up? Alderman Skirms.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to share something, I was not aware of this until fairly recently, that back in 2015, the council approved, there was significant discussion about a sidewalk plan for the city, master plan, where should they go and what elements should be considered and where they should go. So that was all the way back in 2015. Since then, there is now a process whereby streets are scored based on, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 different elements of schools and parks and where they are. So it isn't random that we say, oh, let's do this street. The ones with the highest numbers are the ones that we do in order, unless we're rebuilding a street, and at that time it makes sense to do the sidewalks the same time we're doing a street. So I'm not sure people were aware of that process. I wasn't. The scoring system is, you can see it. There's nothing secret in it. Do you want to follow up on that, Director Kaiser, or did I characterize that properly?
Yeah, I think you laid things out very well. The work done in 2015 was on the heels of another controversial sidewalk installation proposal, I believe on Alexander, where the council deferred action on that pending a review of evaluating how sidewalk installations were prioritized. So after several meetings with the council and development of a series of criteria and a scoring system, that's the result of what you just described, the criteria available and then the calculation of a score. And then using that score to lay out our priorities based on the arterial collectors, neighborhood sub-collector classifications that had been developed prior to that.
Thank you.
Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just have a question on where this goes from here, because there wasn't really a public hearing. There was? There is?
No, we didn't.
No.
Oh, we didn't
No,
because it's not an assessment.
That's right.
Right, because right. So I'm just curious, I mean, they've submitted a petition and we don't have a public hearing, and this is kind of different from what we've done in the past. So I'm just curious where this goes from here. I mean, should we be sending it to a committee, or I'm clueless on this one.
Would you like to address that? Or Jerry?
Anybody that's got information.
It's just a contract, right?
Yeah, the action before the council tonight is on contract 7-24. That contract, the contract quantities include the sidewalk work on Baldwin and on Plummer. So I believe Alderman Hillstrom will be reporting out the action of the Board of Public Works on that, on the board's recommendation. So the council action on that contract, if they wish to move ahead, would be to vote in favor of that contract. The volume of sidewalk work with those two streets is significant enough. I believe that if the alderman wished that to not proceed with the sidewalk work, then that contract should be rejected and we would need to rebid that work without the sidewalk.
Do you happen to have a breakdown of that without the sidewalk work?
Sidewalk work in that contract is in the neighborhood of $165,000.
Thank you.
I have one question for Director Kaiser, and because this came up with a couple of people's comments. With the recent closing of Hoover School, is there any change in the score relative to that change? And even with that change, does the score indicate that this is a priority for the city?
Yeah, the closing of Hoover School reduces the score by 40 points. And in looking at the other sidewalk that we have, it still places it above most of the other sidewalks on the list. Let's see. Yeah, Plummer Court is our high number here, and Whittier Drive would be the next highest, and then Baldwin.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this time? Seeing no one, I will close that portion of the meeting. There is no consent agenda, so we'll move on to reports of standing committees, the regular Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of March 26th. Chairman Lundrum.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the regular Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of March 26, 2024. Minutes can be found on the city website. Item number 1, committee recommends council approve the purchase of a 72-inch John Deere Z994 Z-Track mower from Reister and Schnell in the amount of $18,048.03 using capital equipment funds, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Lundrum, seconded by Alderman Hillstrom for the approval of the purchase of a 72-inch John Deere Z-Track mower. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-0.
And item number 2, committee recommends council approve the purchase of a 60-inch John Deere Z994 Z-Track from Reister and Schnell in the amount of $17,624.53 using capital equipment funds, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Lundrum, seconded by Alderman Weber. Is there any discussion on this item for the approval of the purchase of a 60-inch John Deere Z-Track mower? Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-0.
And item 3, committee recommends council approve a purchase of a 2022 Ford F-350 two-wheel drive regular cab truck from L&S Truck Center in an amount of $54,415.50, and also approve the purchase of a safety lighting package and two-way radio with a cost not to exceed $4,000 using capital equipment funds, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Lundrum, seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. Carrie, just curious, what do they plan on using the truck for?
It was, what do you call those trucks that follow the big equipment around, like a...
Chaser truck.
Yes, that. Yeah. And actually, he found an amazing deal because it was if you noticed, it's a 2022, and it only had 100 miles on it, 150 miles on it. So he was pretty proud of the savings that he found on that one.
I was just curious what they were going to use it
Superintendent
for.
Redke did that.
Great, thanks.
So, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Any additional discussion on this item? The motion is for approval of the purchase of a 2022 Ford F-350. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-0.
Item number 4. This is my favorite. Committee recommends, and this will be all of your favorite too because it fills potholes better. Committee recommends council approve the purchase of the Patcher 2 mastic machine from Sherwin Industries in an amount of $85,557, along with the purchase of various hand tools designed for the mastic application in an amount not to exceed $3,000 using capital equipment funds, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Lundrum, seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Any discussion on this item?
Can I just pipe in on this one? I can ask Director Kaiser, but this is I don't know if this is a new invention, but you can actually see the sample out front. It's, mastic is more like it doesn't get hard like asphalt. So this will be better for potholes because it has better ability to stay in the hole. If you do a cold patch in the middle of winter, it pops out after a week or so. So this is a more, I don't want to say permanent fix, but certainly much longer than an asphalt fix. So this will help our roads. Plus this will be used in, I want to say more like a Band-Aid situation. So there might be a road coming up that isn't ready for a full reconstruction with the underground utilities, and maybe we can get a few more years out of that and save some taxpayer dollars. So this is an amazing machine.
There's a motion and a second by Alderman Lundrum and seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Any further discussion? Thank you for the explanation of that item. Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. Alderman Skirms?
Sorry.
That's okay. That motion passes 6-0.
Item number 5, committee recommends council approve the state and municipal agreement revision number 1 for project 4993-01-00_01 on South Commercial Street reconstruction. And I would so move.
Just 1 second.
Sure. Thanks.
There's a motion by Alderman Lundrum, seconded by Alderman Hillstrom for the approval of the state municipal agreement revision number 1. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-0.
And last item, number 6, committee recommends council approve the purchase of the McCain ATC traffic signal cabinet in an amount of $22,863 and the no traffic detection system in an amount of $21,825 from Traffic and Parking Control, Inc., TAPCO. And I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Lundrum, seconded by Alderman Weber. Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. Is James still here? I know he was here.
He stepped out.
I had a question for him on this.
It's kind of by your house. It's on Nicolay.
It's very close to my house. I have frustrations with this intersection.
No, he knows. We discussed that. There he is.
Sorry. I just have a question on
Come up.
on your device for 3rd Street.
The TAPCO signal cabinet.
So you know my future want, desire, needs, plans, hopes, dreams, etc. for that and the other intersection very nearby. I'm just curious, is this, what is the longevity of this equipment potentially? And will it suffice that amount of time it takes for the other possible pipe dream to happen?
Okay. Are you talking both intersections? Because they both have equipment that we're looking at purchasing for. So there's commercial Nicolay, which we're looking at purchasing a detection system
Yeah.
to replace the one that's there.
Okay.
And then the other location is 3rd and Nicolay, which there we're looking at replacing the traffic signal cabinet. So I guess I would say, regardless of either, if there is life in that equipment, let's say something drastically changes that we don't need that equipment anymore, I would recommend taking that equipment and using it in a different location to make an upgrade somewhere else.
Okay.
In fact, that's what we're going to do with the equipment, the detection equipment at Commercial and Nicolay. We have microwave sensors there. And as you know, our experience has been pretty lackluster with those. They're great at detecting moving vehicles. They're very poor at detecting stopped vehicles.
This I know.
Yes, I'm sure you do. So those, we're we're not getting rid of them because they're not cheap. So we're going to reposition those in locations at intersections that don't have that advanced detection,
Okay.
but have stop bar detection.
So if there is a future design in that area, we could utilize the equipment elsewhere.
Yes, it won't be all for naught, right?
Perfect. Thank you so much. I
problem.
appreciate that.
Yep.
Is there any further discussion? There's a motion and a second to approve the purchase of the McCain ETC traffic signal cabinet. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-0.
And that's the end of my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for your report. The next item on the agenda is the regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of March 25th. That is Chairman Erickson, who is on vacation this week. So Vice Chairman Skirms.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out on the regular Finance Personnel Committee meeting of March 25th. The minutes can be found on the city website. Number 1, committee recommends council approve resolution, 2024-2 for the 2024 Community Development Block Grant and authorization to enter the agreements for the activities subject to approval by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Skirms.
Did you make the motion?
Oh, sorry, I got to push a button.
Seconded by Alderman Boyette for council to approve resolution 2024-02 for the 2024 Community Development Block Grant. Any discussion on this item? Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-0.
Item number 2, committee recommends council accept the petition for annexation number 233, ordinance 2024-6 of 1.31 acres located along Dixie Road in the town of Neenah. And this item will be acted on under the Plan Commission. Number 3, committee recommends council accept the petition for annexation number 232, ordinance 2024-3 of 1.351 acres located along Bayview Road in the town of Neenah. This item also will be acted on under the Plan Commission. Item number 4, Committee recommends council authorize Neenah Police Department to accept $300,000 from the Winnebago County Spirit Fund grant money to purchase the Meridian Archer 1200 barrier system and storage facility, and I would so move.
Is it in there now? Sorry, just one second. Consent agenda. Okay. There's a motion by Alderman Skirm, seconded by Alderman Hillstrom, for the council to authorize Neenah PD to accept $300,000 from Winnebago County Spirit Fund to grant money to purchase the Meridian Archer barrier system. Any discussion on this item?
Just a comment, if someone wanted to comment, describe how cool these things are. Acting Chief Bernice, thank you.
Good evening, Council. As many of you know, we've been discussing this over the past 2 years to try to get this vehicle mitigation barrier system to protect our community during major events. Some of you have opportunities to move these 700-pound barriers.
That didn't go well.
But it's definitely a great tool for our toolbox when it comes to the force plan and the protection of our community. So these barriers are 700 pounds each. They're made in the United States here. They basically could stop a multi-ton vehicle traveling roughly about 30 miles per hour. There is I guess a width of about 15 to 20 feet. The vehicle completely stop. Basically penetrates the undercarriage of these vehicles. So we'll have a large inventory of these barriers to secure a footprint of a main event, such as Community Fest, Very Neenah Christmas, and also use them as a force mitigation product when we do our parades. Our concern is always either a unintentional person driving with a medical issue or unaware of their surroundings into our event, or a criminal act where they're intended to cause harm to our citizens. So we need to have some type of security layers to stop these threats, either intentional or unintentional. So we definitely want to thank the mayor, the finance director, and all our key allies that assisted in obtaining this grant. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assistant Chief Bernice. Really appreciate all of your efforts in receiving that grant funding as well. You went above and beyond in all of your work and research for that, and I really appreciate Winnebago County for supplying that grant to us. Alderman Lundrum.
Thank you. I just wanted to add a couple more thank yous. In the police department, in the mayor's office, in the legal office too, the vehicles that we used to use to block off those intersections, like during our parades and like the mannequin event, you would see our big public works vehicles blocking. Two problems with that is if they were to be damaged, there was an issue where they might not be covered under insurance because they were not being used as intended. So this set of barriers will make that a non-issue. We won't have to use those vehicles anymore. Plus, there was some potential overtime. So there'll be some cost savings in that. So I want to thank everyone for their dedication, and you all, staff, really knocked yourselves out with this one. And we don't want to see a tragedy like we've seen in Wisconsin. So thank you for protecting everyone during our events. We really appreciate it.
Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device to authorize Neenah PD to accept $300,000 from Winnebago County Spirit Fund. That motion passes 6-0.
Item number 5, committee recommends council authorize the Neenah Police Department to change the title of the Investigative Services Unit Lieutenant to Captain of Operations, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Skirms, seconded by Alderman Weber. Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just curious, I did not yet see a job description for this position. Were we going to get one?
I can't answer. I'm sure the chief is drafting one. I don't know if it's been completed or not, but the leadership team has discussed this in PD, and they've figured out a way to do this.
And I understand that. It's just, it wasn't presented in finance, and we're finance and personnel for a reason, and job description, I'm just asking. I had hoped that perhaps we had gotten an email with it, but not as of yet.
I know there was a draft form of the job description. I don't know if Chief Olson was able to finish it before he departed the country, but I'll definitely look into it tomorrow and follow up with you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Just to clarify that, he did not depart the country for any other reason but to be going on vacation.
He left quickly.
He's working on the job description.
That was a little bit ominous.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on that item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device to change the title of Investigative Services Unit Lieutenant to Captain of Operations. That motion passes 6-0.
Item number 6, committee recommends council approve the adjustment of pay for 4 employees for a total cost of $10,952 in salaries and benefits to be funded out of the current 2024 library operating budget, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Skirms, seconded by Alderman Lendrum for the adjustment of pay for 4 employees at the library. Is there any discussion on this item? Alderman Stevenson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just had a quick question regarding, we're able to fund these adjustments out of our current operating budget. How are we able to do that?
My understanding is that the new checkout machines that were approved in the capital budget changes the cost of our maintenance program because the old ones were getting rid of. So the savings comes from reduced maintenance cost with the new machines over the old ones.
That was probably in the packet, I bet.
It was in the packet, right, Amy?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Any further questions? HR Director Amy Fairchild is here if anyone has questions on that. Okay. Any additional questions or concerns? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-0. Thank you for your report. The next item on the agenda is the Neenah Menasha Fire Rescue Joint Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of March 26th. Alderman Stevenson, could you report on that?
Sure. In the absence of Council President Borchert, I will report out the meeting of the Neenah Menasha Fire Rescue Joint Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of March 26th. The committee recommends that both city councils approve the agreement for urban search and rescue emergency response services with the State of Wisconsin Department of Military Affairs Division of Emergency Management for the period of July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026, and I'll make that motion to do that.
There's a motion by Alderman Stevenson, seconded by Alderman Lendrum. Is there any discussion on this item? Any concerns or questions on that? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-0. Thank you for your report. The next item on the agenda is a regular Plan Commission meeting of March 12th. That would normally be reported out by Alderman Steiner, so I will report out on that. This is a follow-up from the previous council meeting. Is there a motion to take from the table the Plan Commission recommendation that council approve a subdivision variance for the creation of 2 lots which are less than 60 feet wide and less than 7,200 square feet in area for the 2-lot CSM located at 806 Main Street?
So moved.
There's a motion by Alderman Boyette, seconded by Alderman Lendrum. We'll do a voice vote for this. All those in favor of taking from the table that recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That motion is taken from the table then. So the next item is Commission recommends council approve a subdivision variance for the creation of 2 lots which are less than 60 feet wide and less than 7,200 square feet in area for the 2-lot CSM located at 806 Main Street. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Oh, Carrie. There's a motion by Alderman Lendrum and seconded by Alderman Boyette. Is there any discussion on this item?
Yeah.
Alderman Stevenson.
So this is the property at 806 Main Street, correct?
Yes.
So the gentleman who spoke, who owns the property, could you share with us the scope of work that you referenced when you indicated that you've worked on a number of projects like this before? I want to confirm that this is intended to be, the lot's intended to be split, and that the second lot that would be facing Edwards is expected to be and built to be a R1 operated owner occupied property.
You would be correct. The property, if I'm not mistaken, currently is zoned R1. The front of it is, the back of it is. In order to build anything other than a single-family home, it would have to come back in front and then get approved to go to R2 or to commercial or industrial or anything else. There's nothing feasible that could fit on this empty piece of land that's sitting inside the city. In fact, in the past, it was offered to the past owners of the property to connect to the sewer lateral, which was the city's intent all along, to have a single-family property built on the back of that. It just was never divided.
Thank you.
Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. If you could, please. Sure. So just a little information. So I tabled it the last time because of the paperwork. But my question is tonight for you. One of the persons that spoke had a thought that the garage would not be able to be built on that property. Do you have intentions of a garage to the rear of this property, or I don't know, underneath it, or like I don't understand. So
yeah, if it fits the site plan, we have not gone as far as developing the site plan. Again, the property right next door is 4.53 more narrow and also has a garage and a house.
Okay.
The property that is in front of this lot, which is the property that I own at 806 Main,
yeah,
it has a 2-car garage and also has a house on it. So the intent would be to configure the site plan so that that can potentially fit.
So potentially a garage would be to the rear of the home that you're going to build.
Yeah, you're not.
But like next to the garage that's there facing the other
Correct.
side.
With the development of tiny homes and what they do on
Yeah.
smaller lots and the infill of existing lots within municipalities such as this, they come up with some pretty creative plans on, right, shortening the front of the house so you can still have a front sidewalk, a front doorway, and then have an attached garage. There's some unique plans with that. We've done this, we are infilling in Kaukauna. On that one, it was a back alley access. We actually designed a home plan that allowed you to drive into the garage from the back with the front of the house facing. So to try to, again, fulfill a need for that affordable housing that is just non-existent in today's market.
Right.
And then to be able to fill in these lots that are not bringing in any tax dollars and not really servicing a use.
Right.
So it's, to comment on exactly what plan would fit on
Premature.
on this is a little bit premature on the fact that we had to get through this hurdle first. And if anyone's ever built a home in any type of subdivision, it's a process to get everything approved, which we would work with the committee to do so.
Well, I appreciate you being here tonight and explaining some of this to us, so thank you so much.
I was out of state last time. I apologize.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll just stand here for a bit.
Are there any additional questions?
Mayor?
Yep.
Just a comment that I think is noteworthy. Of the 15 lots on Edwards, 12 of them are less than 60 feet. So this is not that big of an exception. A home and a lot this size will fit in the neighborhood fine.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device to approve a subdivision variance for the creation of 2 lots. 1 second, please. Did we have the motion in the second? Yeah.
Want me to do it again?
Yes.
I got it. Okay.
Okay, there's a motion by Lendrum, seconded by Boyette. Please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 5-1. The next item on the agenda is the regular Plan Commission meeting of March 26th. The first item is Commission recommends council approve annexation number 232, ordinance number 2024-03, and the property also receive an R1 Single Family Residence District zoning classification. Is there a motion? There's a motion by Alderman Lendrum, seconded by Alderman Skirms. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-0. The next item is Commission recommends council approve annexation number 233, ordinance number 2024-06, and the property also receive a temporary I-1 Plan District Center District zoning classification. Is there a motion? Alderman Skirms makes that motion, seconded by Alderman Lendrum. Any discussion on this item? Alderman Boyette.
What exactly is that? You can explain that to me, please.
Are you asking what a planned business center district zoning classification is?
Yes.
It's the same zoning as our industrial park, so it's one step below general industrial zoning. So a
Thank
few
you.
more restrictions.
Okay, thank you.
There's a motion and a second to approve annexation number 233. Any additional discussion? Please vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-0. The final item on the Plan Commission agenda, Commission recommends council approve ordinance number 2024-05 for project plan approval number 1-24 for the Bridgewood Plan Development District, allowing the construction of a hotel building expansion, restaurant building expansion, and a parking lot expansion subject to the project plan approval letter. Is there a motion? There's a motion by Alderman Hillstrom, seconded by Alderman Lendrum. Any discussion on this item? Any questions? I have to say I'm very excited about this expansion and just very happy for their continued investment in our community. Seeing no questions or items to discuss on that, please vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-0. And that concludes the Plan Commission report. Moving on to the Board of Public Works meeting of March 28th. Vice Chairman Hellstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. The minutes from this meeting will be found on the city website. This evening, we have one information-only item and two council action items. The first information item is the board-approved change order number 1, contract 1-24W, removal and replacement of the oxide tank and related appendages, the Rhodey Brothers Incorporated, Plymouth, Wisconsin, to extend the contract completion date to April 30th, 2025. The first council action item, the board recommends council approve award contract 7-24, concrete pavement sidewalk repair to Jim Fisher Incorporated in the amount of $537,225, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Hillstrom, seconded by Alderman Lendrum. Is there any discussion on this item? Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and the sidewalk part of this, I just done quite a bit of research, so I just wanted to read some figures and statistics that came up with about sidewalks, and I do appreciate everybody being here tonight speaking about this, and appreciate Alderman Stevenson sticking around for 35 years to discuss sidewalks. And understand why he's leaving. So, the National Association of City Transportation Officials states that sidewalks play a vital role in city life as conduits for pedestrian movement and access. They enhance connectivity and promote walking. Of course, safety is the #1 concern, and statistics show that walking on a sidewalk is 88% safer than walking on a street. Our goal should be to provide a safe way of travel for people of all ages and abilities, from a mother pushing a stroller to a child learning how to ride a bike to those who are physically challenged. Inactivity is the 4th leading cause of mortality in the United States. For people over 60, walking just 15 minutes a day can reduce the risk of dying by 22%. There's a bunch of other statistics I'm not going to get into, but it's healthy to walk, and we need to encourage that. In we back our sustainability committee to do things for our city, and providing safe sidewalks to encourage people to drive less, meaning cleaner air, less noise pollution, and healthier citizens. Numerous studies have shown that good pedestrian network connectivity and walkability have a positive impact on land values and make homes easier to sell. Zillow now lists a walk score, which measures the walkability of addresses listed. This year we have 2 streets, Baldwin and Plummer Court, who meet our criteria and are scheduled to have sidewalks installed. Baldwin, as we heard from many of the people living on Baldwin, is a fast shortcut between Cecil Street and Winneconne Avenue. We've heard complaints of speeding for years on there, and I've heard them. I've gone and talked to people. I've asked the police to patrol that area, and they've put out the old trailers we used to have with speed limits, so they've tried to slow it down. And we also heard tonight that the request to put speed bumps in there. Plummer Court already has a partial sidewalk and is similar in that way to the 3 streets we approved to be connected in 2022, which were Frederick, Meadowview, and Wild Rose. When looking at sidewalks, we also have to look to realize that home ownership changes. In the past 10 years, Baldwin has had 15 sales, which is 46% of the property owners. Plummer Court's had 13 sales, which is 43% of the homes in that street. So things change, and tonight's just a snapshot of what we're seeing. So that's all my comments.
Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. I just want to point out 3 really good points that were made tonight by the citizens that came and brought this to our attention. One, the fact that the scoring for the sidewalks is lowered due to the school closing, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it is a change. Also, the cost savings of $165,000 to eliminate the sidewalks, I think that is also a significant change. And the fact that the citizens thought it was important enough to bring a petition to council and submit it with the majority of their neighbors' signatures on it. And so for those reasons, I will be voting against this evening.
Alderman Skirms.
Thank you, Mayor. This is not an easy one, but I fall back on the years that precede us, where the city decided it was important to have a master plan for sidewalks for the reasons that Alderman Hillstrom mentioned. Secondly, I think that the council has made concerted effort to choose which neighborhoods to do in what order, and the revaluing of Baldwin in this case because of the school closure still puts it in the top 3 or the worst 3 in the community. I've driven Baldwin multiple times and Plummer, and I think the sidewalks would be appreciated not only by the neighbors but other folks. So I will be voting in favor of this.
Would anyone else like to speak? Alderman Boyette?
Sorry, Mayor. In conclusion, this is not just Baldwin Street. There's Plummer Court on here as well. So I get what you're saying. There's other streets involved and other people that are in different neighborhoods that don't have the effect that this one does. So I don't know, maybe a better way to have done this would have been to divide it up. I get it's a contract, but yeah, just so you know, so everybody's aware.
Any further discussion? Can we bring any further discussion? No, I'm sorry. Seeing no further discussion, please cast your vote on your voting device to award contract 724. That motion passes 4-2.
The last council action item this evening is B. The board recommends council approve award contract 8-24 miscellaneous hot mix asphalt repair to MCC Incorporated using the base bid on contract 8-24 in the amount of $106,942.50, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Hillstrom, seconded by Alderman Lundrum. Is there any discussion on this item, the awarding of contract 824? Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote on your voting device. That motion passes 6-0.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you for your report. The next item on the agenda, Community Development Authority, Director Hayes.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. The CDA met this afternoon at 4 o'clock. They did take action to declare the property at 1730 Dixie Road blighted, which the council is familiar with as part of our South Park industrial expansion and the growth of that area. They also have taken action to move forward with the acquisition of the property. We are scheduled to close on that property Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. The Phase 2 environmental site assessment the field work has been completed, so we're waiting results of the tests that have been done there as well. That's all I have to report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your report. Are there any questions? Seeing none, Sustainable Neenah Committee, Alderman Lundrum.
Thank you, Mayor, but that meeting was canceled.
Thank you. Bergstrom-Muller Museum would normally be reported by Council President Borchert, who is on vacation, so we will get that at the next meeting. Parks and Recreation Commission, Alderman Weber.
Thank you, Mayor. The Park and Rec Commission met on March 21st. Minutes are on the city website. Couple of items of note. There was some discussion on the 5-year capital plan and prep for capital budget discussions, et cetera. The Doty shoreline repairs was moved up to 2025. If anybody, is familiar with that, it really is in rough shape, really needs some attention. So there'll be more discussion on that item. The commission's regular yearly retreat is going to be held on April 18th. It's a half-day type meeting. Part of the agenda there will be the commission nominating committee will be bringing to the floor of the new officers nominations for the commission. And we also had an update from the Cemetery Monument Task Force. If you recall, 1 or 2 meetings ago, I mentioned there is a citizen who wants to donate, quite a lot of a nice sum of money to make a memorial monument for, the latter wars that we've had and the different events. And so there's a task force that's tackling that, and they'll be coming back to the commission next time with the proposal for that. So it's moving along well. And that ends my report.
Thank you for your report. Petitions. We did receive a petition this evening.
Other than the petition received this evening, there are no petitions.
Are there any council directives? Any unfinished business? Any announcements or questions that can legally come before council? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, my button's not working. I'm over here tapping it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I
Not
need to
that
be
good.
looking.
Unfinished business. I just want to make it aware and ask that the bill that I had signed by the governor is now in law for the service animals. And so I'd like for the council and attorney to codify and adopt that as our new current. And I'm not sure what the procedure is for that.
The procedure is my office will take a look at the law that the governor just passed and compare that to our city ordinance and to propose any changes through the proper committee, and then it'll come before this body for approval.
Thank you.
Alderman Skirms.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to pass along my thanks to our city clerk, Nigel, all the folks that worked the polls yesterday. Much appreciated. Elections wouldn't happen without a whole lot of hours and a whole lot of work, so we appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Alderman Boyette.
Sorry, on that note, when I voted yesterday, I received a notification that we will not be voting at Whiting Boathouse in the fall. And so I was just curious if all of our voting locations were changing or just that particular one.
That is correct. We are going to be proposing a resolution at the next council meeting to change 2 polling locations. One of them is Whiting Boathouse. We are proposing to change to the First Presbyterian Church at the Fellowship Hall. And Memorial Park Shirk Shelter, we are proposing to change to Gloria Day Lutheran Church on Tuller Road. These 2 facilities are not big enough to handle a presidential election. And some of them do have ADA concerns. So we have worked with both those facilities to see if we can get an agreement for the next 2 elections and in the future going forward to accommodate our voters appropriately.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Alderman Skirms.
Thank you, Mayor. If I may, I'd like to congratulate Alder-elect Paulno, Alder-elect Ellis, who will be representing the 3rd and the 2nd. Congratulations to President Borchard being reelected to represent the 2nd. I also want to thank Ms. Sandvik and Mr. Linsky for running. Takes time, energy, and some guts to run for public office, so I appreciate that. And I would hope that we would reach out to both of them and see if we could find a way on a board or a committee or a commission that they could serve us. And in closing, I just want to say it's been an honor representing this exceptional city. I'm grateful for the trust that's been placed in me. I've been humbled by the support of the council, Mayor Coffert, Mayor Lang, the department heads, city staff, community leaders, residents of Neenah. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Alderperson Stevenson, my neighbor here, for his leadership and kindness he's offered me over the last 3 years, and his incredible contributions and service to the city. Thanks.
Any additional unfinished business? Alderman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to thank Alderman Skirms for his service, and it's been great working with you, and appreciate the detail you put in on all your work and your decision-making, so thank you. And I've got something to say about Alderman Stevenson. I've been serving with him for a few years now, and so as fellow aldermen serving with the city of Neenah, we express our gratitude for your 34 years of serving on the city council, with an incredible 31 years being our leader as council president. Those years have easily added up to over 2,000 council and committee meetings attended, with so many more times talking with or emailing city staff with questions, requesting additional information on agenda items. Then you add the phone calls from constituents with questions that may need to be researched, and making return calls, adding more thousands of hours. Too often that dedication causes the sacrifice of time spent with family, along with many activities and opportunities missed that can't be made up. Your leadership and knowledge on how and why our council work is done in certain ways can't be replaced by any of us currently sitting on this council. So many times your explanations have guided us through the decisions we need to make. We will miss you as a fellow councilman and as a friend, someone who has done more than any other alderman in our city's history to make Neenah the great place it is to live, and with many great days in front of us. We have both retired before and came back. Yesterday's election, we found 2 more Neenah aldermen back on the council, so I guess never say never. So if your retirement has you landing in too many sand traps, or your beloved Cubbies lose to the Brewer too many times, you are always welcome to return back to this council chamber. So enjoy your retirement, Alderman Stevenson. You have certainly earned it.
Thank you.
I would also like to take this opportunity to recognize our 2 aldermen who are retiring, this being their last council meeting. First, I'd like to recognize Alderman John Skirms. It has been such an honor and a privilege to work with John Skirms over these past 4 years. John has served on the Finance and Personnel Committee, the Business Improvement District Board, the Joint Review Board for Tax Incremental Financing Districts, and on the Committee on Rules. His calm and thoughtful approach to issues has been so very much appreciated. John clearly has epitomized the definition of statesman, being one who, quote, exhibits great wisdom and ability in directing the affairs of government. Not one to make assumptions or jump to quick conclusions, John has always done his research, had the necessary conversations with staff, and addressed residents' concerns in the most professional manner, and he will be sorely missed. Secondly, I'm sorry, I'm not going to cry. Secondly, I'd like to recognize Alderman Todd Stevenson. As I said in the spring issue of the city newsletter when I asked our city clerk, Charnagel, to provide me with the history of service of Alderman Stevenson, she produced a 3-page spreadsheet. It could almost be a scroll unrolling. There truly is no way to adequately convey all that Todd has done in his 34-year career on council. From having served on 10 committees, commissions, and countless ad hoc groups, to serving as council president for 28 of his 34 years, he has epitomized the role of community leader, participating and serving in so many other community roles. Todd just seems to have a hard time saying no to his community. I have been personally grateful to Todd for his willingness to step into roles that were not solely related to City Council, namely helping out with the Historical Society and its many endeavors. Again, Todd has shown great generosity with his time and energy, and for that we are extremely grateful to not only him, but also to his wonderful wife, Nancy, and his entire family. It has been a true honor and privilege to serve alongside Alderman Stevenson over the past 10 years. In closing, I'd like to sincerely thank you for all you've done to help the city of Neenah thrive and grow over your long tenure on City Council. You've provided steady, strong leadership throughout these many years, and your presence will be sorely missed.
Thank you, Mayor. There are people that probably want to go home. So Dean kind of stole my thunder, and the mayor stole my thunder, and Lee stole some of my thunder, and John stole some of my thunder. But I too, first and foremost, need to acknowledge and recognize and thank my family. I've said it many times before that we as alders get the recognition and we get the thanks and we get the pats on the back for the service that we provide. And I've never said this before, but we deserve it. We deserve the thanks. We deserve the acknowledgement of the efforts that we put in. We put in many hours of reading, listening, negotiating, seeking answers, responding, calling back, and then you do it all over again. But it's our families and the loved ones who we all have who really make the sacrifice. Obviously, the sacrifice of time is well documented, but it's the sacrifice of loss of concentration during dinner, the loss of opportunity where we could have gone with the family somewhere, but we had meetings. It's the lack of attention because I'm on the phone or thinking about what I'm telling the constituent that I have to call back. So those sacrifices that these people make. So I wanted to publicly thank all of your families for what they do to allow you to do what I know you all love to do. And in front of them, I want to thank my wife, Nancy, and my daughter, Ashley, who is also here. I also want to acknowledge and thank my daughter, Amber. My first 4 years on the city council, Ted Bauer was our finance director, and I did not make one of my children's Christmas program in elementary school because we had budget workshop sessions scheduled. After 4 years and being council president for long enough, I was able to get that changed. But my daughter, Amber, I also want to acknowledge her husband, Nathan, and our two precious grandchildren, Maddie and Theo Otis. I and our community owe all of our families a well-deserved thank you. So thank you to you all. So when I shared with Nancy that I was going to likely not run again, I made a promise to her that I would purge the many, many city documents in my possession. So, honey, would you want to bring that gift up, please? She's bringing forward a gift. I want her to present it to our city clerk, Sharon Nagel. Yeah, I haven't got to the basement yet. But, Sheriff, if you want to open those up, inside that box, in that little bag, there are 45 city directories. There's 45 of them, and the first one, and the oldest one I have in there, is from 1988-89, the year before I ran for this position for the first time, in which I used frequently to get phone numbers and positions, correct titles, as I was learning more how to prepare for local government. I won that first election against Clayton Poquette in 1989. Shar, for the record, we either didn't print or we don't have one for the 89-90 and 90-91 year. But this is symbolic of the second group that I want to acknowledge. And by the way, the only name in that 88-89 directory that has any connection yet to this city is Joe Wenninger. And Joe was there, and I was in the next one. So, but the directories represent the staff, the outstanding, and you guys have all referenced it, and Dean made a great reference to it as well. And I'm going to ask for your forgiveness, but I do have to acknowledge that the city staff makes us all look good. And we have a unique community in that the relationship we have as council members with our city staff, I don't think can ever be duplicated in any community. So thank you to all the staff members, whether you're a director or whether it's one of the crossing guards that helped train me become a better crossing guard a couple of years ago. All staff members, thank you very much. Two more things I want to comment on. When I realized that I wasn't going to run again, and I announced that, people started asking me, and Beth did it for the Neenah News, what's your favorite memory, or what's your highlight, or what do you remember most about your service? So I started thinking, and I shared with Beth the rezoning at Theta Clark, which I think ultimately enabled it to continue to be built here, was critical. The nurturing and redevelopment of our downtown through TIF and through the bid district. And people like John Bergstrom and Bob DiRenzo and Randy Stadmiller and Dan Began, two guys I have to acknowledge as mentors, Dan Began and Tom Prosser, who were instrumental in getting this downtown revitalized from an investment perspective. So that was one. We had the plaza. I mentioned the bid. This council secured the future growth of the city by taking a risk and purchasing developable land out to the west side. We signed a border agreement with the town of Menasha. We built a new pool under my tenure. We built a new library. We built a new public works garage. We spent a lot of money. We built a new police station, and we've already refurbished it. We developed and manned for a number of years the recycling drop-off area. And another one that I'm especially proud of is our city's response to the Act 10 legislation, where we proactively and immediately recognized that we had to create work rules for our employees that were fair and acknowledged their hard work and effort. And I think that was critical to keeping our staff engaged. I want to share something I found. I wrote this 20 years ago when I was asked to make a presentation to some sort of town forum. I don't even remember what it was. And I'm going to read it verbatim. And the words that I wrote 20 years ago are true today. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize and thank my colleagues on the council for their continued dedication to this community and for continuing to accept the responsibilities we assume when we get elected. It is indeed an honor to serve with people who recognize the role we play in leading this city and who carry out that role in such a professional manner. This council will study the issues, ask the tough questions, demand quality in the answer, debate, disagree, and ultimately vote, all within an arena of respect that is unique to this city. Agree or disagree, we will always respect each other. So with that thought, my proudest accomplishment as a city council member is having created and maintaining this positive, proactive, challenging, and yet always respectful culture. I was visiting with a friend last weekend, and we were talking about this, and I shared with him that I was proud of how we got along, how we interacted, and how we did it very professionally. And it's a gentleman, Steve Radish, who used to work for Gold Cross, and he has a lot of community comparisons. And he said, Todd, the city of Neenah has a culture that is unchallenged in quality. So that's, if I'm the proudest of anything, I'm proudest of that. And the last group I have to thank is just the citizens of Neenah, who entrusted in me a leadership role and continue to support that role and support my endeavors in allowing me and enabling me to serve what is a beautiful community. And I'll finish with, we're not going anywhere permanently. And so if I can ever help the city in any kind of role that you think I could add value, please don't make me a stranger. So to all of you, thank you.
Alderman Stevenson, would you like to move to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Yeah, let's. There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
The City of Neenah is pleased to provide video recordings of City Council meetings. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents from the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or completing the electronic feedback form on the city website. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited.